Hello, welcome. I'm Anne Kenzie, already covered in green somehow. Didn't know that happened. And this is the first demonstration. I think, okay. Calm down on you. Alright, so I was saying we'd have a look at the space that the flowers occupy, and I think up and down the way it feels, from where I'm standing, I want to get the vase, the jug in. I want to get some of the tabletop in. And so it seems fitting to have a vertical, to have it in the portrait composition up and down the way. If you want to focus only on the flowers, you could turn it sideways and you might fill the page with your flowers and forget about the jug. And you don't have to know in advance what you're going to do until you find your own position at the easel and you'll feel your way in, kind of thing. Okay. And then I think it's helpful to begin with something, like I often find it useful to start with a green, a kind of a muted green, in order that I can get the general, like I've got my eyes half closed here now because there's so much, isn't there, going on. There's a lot of colour, a lot of different shapes and patterns, and and the flowers are turned one way and the other. So I'm looking for something that'll feel cohesive here, that'll bring some kind of order in. And also that will, I'll just start, I think. So Erin, will you set the timer once, like I said, once I get going, you'll set it. And you want to have order on your tabletop as well, best you can. I've got kitchen paper too. Just get that. Okay. Great stuff. Alright. You want to have, I was talking about having order on your table. I mean, this isn't the greatest now. Take your time as you're setting up so that you've got what you need available to you. And you can easily reach the water, that you can easily access the paints and things. And anything that you're not using, you could put under the table or something, or on the windowsill. But I've kind of gathered everything around me here, I think. Okay, so we'll start with something, and I'm using my tear off palette. I have the two covers too. Oh yeah, some glue. So we've got some of these old plastic covers that are kind of helpful, I think, and there's loads of containers for water. These plastic covers can be good to just, I want to make a colour to represent that green. Now this to me would be too colourful on its own. That's the hooker's green. And use any paint that you want on the table over there. Okay, that's available for everybody. So that's the hooker's green, and I feel like that's a little bit too colourful. So I'm going to put in some of the Van Dyke brown. The Van Dyke brown looks like that. And those two together, the brown kind of cancels out the green so that it feels, I think, a little bit more like the colour that I'm aiming for there. But we'll see once I put it onto the white as well. Okay, so maybe even a little bit more brown so that it's really muted. Okay. It's kind of a funny thing starting, isn't it? Yeah, so it looks to me like this side is kind of dark. I want to use more of the, as I put it on and look back to what I'm explaining, which is this little section here. I'm noticing that I want it to be a bit darker, really. And there's loads of, just use the brushes. I leave all my brushes over there as well as these big brushes if you want to use them, available too. So so I wanted to put on some more. So I've used the ultramarine blue, which looks like that, into the Van Dyke brown. And let's see. I think that feels a little bit more true to the tone that I'm aiming for. Okay, and I'm maybe a bit more because I'm a bit impatient with that I'm not lifting up enough. Yeah, there's a bit more dark in there. I'm just keeping my eyes half closed so that I don't see too much, but that I can find the darks and lights that are generally occupying the space of the foliage, you know, the flowers, the general triangular-ish shape that I'm seeing there. So it might look as though it's fierce, you know, devil-may-care altogether, but actually there's some trying to find I am aiming to discover the particular areas of dark and light that I'm seeing when I half close my eyes, that triangle. And there's dark in there and dark there, something green here and green here, so it feels like a general triangular shape, kind of. And it just kind of feels good to do something vigorous. And I think even, I'll just do a little splash, because there's a kind of a yellow flower there that when or actually I just wanted to do a splash really. You'll see. I might talk about how effective it is later if it is. You'll see. The way the oil passes now, because they'd be a kind of a fire move really. Yeah, okay. And what next then? Maybe I could use the kitchen paper with some water on it in order to just you know, further explain some of these edges. I don't want to explain everything away now, but just here and there it might be. And I think some of that green is a little bit more of a sap green, kind of warm colour. Over here, that's the wrong shade now altogether. It's got a bit of more blue in it. Yeah, sap green actually. I'm going to stick sap green and it's this carry on here I feel is a slightly different green. So I'm just going to put in. It might be kind of like that. Don't ever go very far without getting my hands stuck in the plastic stuff. I think it always feels like I want to kind of engage fully with the thing. You see what happens when you wipe away the splashes? It's nice, isn't it? Some sort of magical kind of thing happens with that. And it might be covered over later, but even just for now it feels like a bit of it feels kind of like something a little bit magical for me to keep myself interested. Okay, now. And I think I put something on for the vase. Got such a selection. I went to B&Q last night and maybe got too many things. Big rolls and rolls of paper. And actually, I might just use one little bit of collage on here, but it's nice to have. It's nice to feel like a child in a sweet shop and looking for something that might just work, you know. I think that might work there. So let's see. Let's stick that on. Just as a kind of an indication of something that might be a vase or a jug, only a vase. And if you're turned from if you don't see the handle or if you don't see the pattern, just reminding myself, breathing is an important part of this whole process, you know, and recognizing when there's a kind of a flurry up the wheel and just kind of coming back down into the belly, softness in the belly, because I feel like I'm chasing my tail a small bit, so I need to kind of calm it down. But a certain amount of urgency sometimes is kind of good too, isn't it? That's kind of wanting to keep it a little bit lively with it. Okay, so yeah, just for the bottom of the thing. So if you don't see the pattern and you want to have the pattern in there, you could just see it as a vase from your point of view and stick, you know, you can walk around and look at the pattern if you want and then put it on. It doesn't mean that you have to have it facing you in order to do it. What's happening with the coffee? Oh yeah, thanks. I was thinking the jug had disappeared, but it's there. Thanks very much. Okay, so that's something for the vase. And then I think maybe the next thing, although I could do with lifting out some of that, lifting out the space within which the daisy sits here. Now, you see after a while you have to kind of scrub at it to get the paint off, but it'll come off. And if it doesn't, you can always, you know, there's always the option of putting on, you need it to be closer to the jug, really, There's always the option of later putting on something. Putting on the whites, you know, the greys and the whites and things. And then there's a daisy that's shooting it that way, catching the light, catching the spotlight. So, alright. And then I thought maybe we could use the masking tape to mask off. Mask off the position of the tabletop. Straighten out a bit. Yeah, so where the line of the back of the table, this is something that I kind of like to do. You might think it's a bit naff, like, but the thing is, it helps me to be freer with my marks if I know that the edge is here. You can like that bottom of the jug, so I'm going to cover that as well. And I hope that it doesn't lift off when I take off the masking tape. Red, now I need some red for the table.
I'd take that one.
Yeah.
No problem.
Susan's given me loads of paint, donated loads of paint to me.
I hate acrylic. And I keep trying.
But I love that
And
she
I'm
hates
trying
it.
again today.
Oh, what a shame. You know, you can use whatever you like today. You know
Oh, I
that.
know.
Yeah.
I will try an acrylic this morning.
It's kind of good for you because I get all the paint that she buys, you know, having decided. And it's terrible because it's usually because I've
Some of them were
suggested-
bequeathed to me or given to me through work. So it's like, I know I can always...
Yeah.
It goes to landfill otherwise.
Well-
So it's better to go to someone and use than...
Yeah, guaranteed they'll get used anyway. There's a whole selection of inks and everything from amazing and good stuff, like the high flow acrylic that you I love that too. Okay, so what's this now? Cadmium red. Let's see, what does that look like? It's not bad, is it? But I'd say I need something more crimson-y. This is permanent rose then. Oh God.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I'll just use the crimson. Can't hide anything. And that's not going to come out. Just bear with me 1 second there. Do you know what? I know it seems ridiculous. Doesn't that look a little bit like one of those little flowers? Could be. Okay.
There's 10 minutes left.
Oh, thanks, Erin. Keep me ready. So I'm kind of cast on a little bit like this time, you know. Alright, yeah. So crimson, I think maybe alizarin crimson, and then the bits that are really bright, the bits that are really bright might be more the cadmium red, I'd say. Do you know where the light is falling? It's got an orangey hint. I think this is a better one for the tabletop itself. I need to do a job on the tops of these so that they're unclogged. Until that happens, I'm just using my finger. I'll get something for you though. If you need to use that red, there'll be a spoon or something you can use for you to lift it out. Okay, gosh, alright, there we are now, there's a red. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, and just because there's so much dry brush up here, I may as well stick a bit of water into that and see, just to give it a kind of a different mark. But like a lot of water. And then you could kind of use a shield maybe to just let it be. But you see what I mean? You can kind of be a bit more free once you know that there's something establishing at least the horizontal of the tabletop. And you can get a bit of freedom into it. I'm going to put some ultramarine blue into that alizarin crimson because to me there's parts of it that are a little bit darker. Let's see what it's in. see how that happens. Easily done. And of course there's no obligation to put your hands in the stuff. It'd be sensible not to. That's just a bit of the crimson, no, the cadmium red going on top then. So just take that off and see. Oh, off comes the collage. A little bit there was no harm to have that underneath. Really, do you know what? The important thing I think early on is to just let yourself play a bit, you know, let the cat out of the bag altogether. And you've got more paper if you want to have a second go or something like that. But really, I find that if there's an injection of energy at the outset, it's maybe, I think it provides an energy that'll last throughout the painting. And it doesn't have to be all about really tentative kind of exploring. That can happen at some point, the fine-tuning of things. But see if you can manage to feel, we spoke about this in the portraiture course, see if you can manage to feel what it is for you when you're standing there looking at the flowers. Something will happen that you don't have to put words to, but you'll see the colours and you'll kind of just make your response, which no one else can have. It's only you that can have this response to what you're seeing in your space on this day, in this light. You know, it's all your, so to kind of cultivate that best you can. And I think sometimes we just need to get the colours out and get moving in some direction. And with acrylic, you can layer, you can adjust things all the way through. And of course with collage, look what you can do if you're not happy with something, you know. And we're in good company. Collage was something that Matisse and Picasso used, and you know, it's not as though it's something that only happens in nursery school, although that's not a bad energy to encourage. That kind of down low to the ground, kind of finding things that might work, like seeking jewels, you know. And there's something about that, just adventure, feeling it's an adventure for yourself. And it is your permission to play. It's not that nobody's standing over you wanting you to do it one particular way. And maybe your way is to go slowly and quietly and gradually find your way. And that's really welcome too. You know, all of it is welcome. I tend to, when it's me doing the demonstration especially, I tend to kind of feel like I want to get my nervousness and stuff out and out of the way or something. And so that's probably why I end up sticking my hands in it and everything. I did want to lose the edge again a little bit after doing a careful planning of the horizontal thing. I did want to lose that edge again. Okay. And then you could keep yourself going backwards and forwards too, so that you're always letting the full thing impact you. And there's another, kind of a green shooting up here. It's not that bright now, but sure, it's all right. Sometimes you just want to get down what you've seen without having to have the exact colour. If you've seen something, honour the moment of noticing it and move with that. And there's some green over there too. There's a darker green sticking out the other side. Over here. Okay. I want to explain the stencils. There's great fun to be had. It's great fun to be had with stencils as well. Like if you don't know what it is, or if you want to create a sense of the jumbled floral or foliagey thing. Some people might be allergic to stencils and I think, no, I'm not doing that. That's fine. But it's just another, I think variety in the mark making is something that can be very, that's kind of appealing. Something to get you surprised. You want to keep yourself surprised. Maybe that's not such a big thing. I want something that might have a bit more impact. So the thing of being surprised, Paul Clee said, make chance essential. So that's how I see the stencils coming into play here, is that they, it means that I'm doing something I'm not in complete control of really, that something might happen there, and that when I lift it off might be a surprise to me. It might be like, oh God, I have to fix that or do something different, but it will cause you to move in a different direction. And sometimes if you just don't know how to explain something, you could do it with, you could try, but there's something there, you know, you could just stick on some sort of edge. I'm not really selling the stencils very well here, I think. Has anyone kind of seen evidence of it working in the past? I can't remember. Yeah, thanks, Susan, I was looking to you. Yeah. No, because we did the flower painting course together. But you know, you can kind of get away with very little, you can get away without having to be pedantic about it, and yet you feel it explain something of the wildflower kind of feel of this bundle. So you know that's an option. If you ever don't know what to do next, you could pick up a stencil and try something like that. Erin, how am I for time now?
2.5 minutes.
Okay, so I might just talk about, like, there's the connection between, where did I put that brush? Okay. There's the connection between the vase now and the, you know, the vase and the flowers, and the, how it's kind of dark. The connection between the jug and the flowers, and like, yeah, and there's the little section of some like little berries happening here. Might be that colour. In fact, they're not that colour really, are they? More cadmium red, and they're not that bright at all. But just to give myself an idea of the position of things, can be good to just find a location once you've got something to describe the general shape of the foliage. You know, if you're looking for any little bit of direction at all, something to describe the general shape of the foliage, something to describe the tabletop, and something to describe the vase before we stop, you know, for a coffee break or something in 40 minutes, say, after you've started it. Yeah. And locating the position of the colours, more so than painting crocosmias, for example. You might just discover the position of it and just indicate something to say that's, you know, that's where the berries might be. This might be where the crocosmias might be. And then there's the daisy facing us here. And there's some little touches of red that could be simply indicated, you know, by just, maybe that's even too much going into that. I might just go for the yellow instead. So there's a yellow somewhere like there, and there's one there, and there's the thing, you know, you could actually use a stencil for that. But all the stencils I've got, sometimes I find the snowflake one is quite nice for describing things like, that's like cow parsley kind of looking. Somebody said when we're desperate we discover. When you're curious you create, but when you're desperate you discover. And so if you've got that edge of really wanting to get the thing, you maybe think outside the box then, you know, that might work. Like, I think what I would do in that instance is I'd get some white paint, maybe I mix it in with the yellow, because that's really catching the light. Thanks, Erin. That's really catching the light there, those little beady kind of starry things here. Could be explained maybe with a little bit of white and a lemon yellow, and then stippled on. But you can always just, you know, paint with a traditional paintbrush. It doesn't have to be all different things. And I thought after lunch that maybe I could do a little, if you're interested in a second kind of demonstration or something, at some point you could maybe talk about ways of pulling out the character of each individual flower, or, you know, if there's one or two that you kind of go, I'd quite like to really give considered mark making to this in the midst of the chaos. Sometimes it's quite a nice thing to have things that are modelled with care in the midst of things that are explained but more of an energetic kind of thing. So after lunch maybe I might do another little demonstration if that's alright. So does anyone have any questions or anything like that, or any observations? Anything?
Are they your flowers? Do you, I mean,
What are flowers to you as well? Are you a gardener as well as a painter? or-
Well, some of them are mine. The crocodiles and daisies are mine, but the rest of them came from a local florist in Carlups. I just discovered, someone online showed me about them, and I'm going to use her in the future because I think it's lovely to have flowers that are more local and going close to home. But yes, I really love flowers, and I feel like there's a joy available there when you're curious about them, when we really kind of stop and be attentive to what's here. There's some sort of sustenance available through, I think, the colours and the
I'm always being teased because I speak to my roses. So I've got roses on my front path when I go out the house, and I always stop and have a little look at them and whatever.
and I
Smell
scented,
them, and
yeah.
some of them are and some of them aren't. Or
Yeah.
they vary. Sometimes they are to start with and then not later.
And then they
I don't know enough about them, but everybody teases me. I'm going, well, they're doing very well. Maybe it's because we're talking to them.
Yeah. But it is the full sensory experience of them
Yeah.
too, I think, and it brings us back into the present, here and now. And this is where, I think this is the crux of it really, and I think where it can be satisfying. And I just wanted to show you that as well. That's quite a nice one to describe the vase as well. Sometimes a little stippled pattern could be the thing if you don't want to bother with collage. But that thing of being available in the moment to fully what your experience is, and bring yourself home to yourself here best you can, and see what it is you're looking at, and then make your response, your individual response. Maybe this feels all very pressurizing, but I'm excited to see what happens. I think that you'll be great, and you're not having to. Yeah, you're already all A+ students today now. And I'm A+ as a teacher, and Erin's A+ as the person doing the team cup. So there's no one to perform for. It's your own space and time, and breathe into it, enjoy it. I'll put everything back over there, and this space is available, and that space at the end. I think maybe, were you going to go there, Claire, or were you going to go here?
I don't know.
Because we spoke about that before. I mean, there's actually loads of room, because normally we'd have 8 people, and so we have 8 spaces and 6 people, so you can kind of decide where you'd like to be. Krista, if you wanted to come around a little, so that's available and that's available. And I don't know, it will be available once I clear it off. Actually, would you help me clearing off this table? And then you can kind of see where you want to be. And there's room to move around if you want to go somewhere else. I don't know where you'd like to be. Okay.
Can I ask you something?
Yes,
When you
please,
said
yeah.
there's a joy in the flowers, to me it bothers me that they are cut. It doesn't bother you that they are cut flowers?
Oh, so that it's kind of like killing the life out of them. Like,
Yeah.
well, I kind of feel that we are making something alive and creative from them, and it's honouring them maybe more than, well, as much as seeing them in a beautiful field. But I think that if we are going to cut them, it's nice to give them the attention and to really make them, like Georgia O'Keeffe said, I paint flowers so that they stay alive. I think, did she say that? Something like that, was that? So that they remain alive. And I suppose we're kind of doing our best to honour the life in them by making our response on paper. But yeah, I don't know if I can help with that sense of the lovely flowers are cut. But yeah, I feel a bit better that they're local than, like, sometimes we have ones from all over, that I get from Marks and Spencer's or somewhere. And yeah, so that's all I can say about that. Does it? Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's recycling.
Yeah, and making something lovely from them.
Yeah.
Okay. So, oh yeah, thanks. All the best.